I will say this: we've been doing a lot of AFC talk. I think we pretty much entirely covered the AFC outside of the little bit of Nick Bosa NFC West stuff. But let's talk about the AFC. So obviously, a big pivotal game against the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs. Bills take down the Chiefs, giving the Chiefs their first loss of the season, eliminating all chances of the perfect season, the undefeated season, the team that Gabe's Dolphin is the only team to ever have. But yeah, man, it was a great game. So before we talk about who is potentially going to top this AFC conference, let's talk about this game. Gabe, what did you think about this game? I know you sat there and watched this closely, hoping for a tie.
That was kind of a weird game because it was like in the middle of the first quarter around the witching hour. Yeah, this game I was locked in on. This game felt like a playoff game. I felt like there was good performances all around. I mean, if I just think back, the highlights I think of, James Cook was a highlight. I think he had a great game. What's his name?
Josh Allen, dude.
Josh Allen had a great game. He had probably the best highlight of the game on that fourth down where he just kind of fakes it and runs it, scores a touchdown.
Goes for the tud. Yeah.
He had a great game. Let me see. I'm trying to just think of other highlights.
Shakir.
Oh, Shakir. They used Shakir a lot. They were using him. He scored a touchdown. They used him at a lot of positions. So he had a good game as well.
Curtis Samuel had 5 receptions, 58 yards.
He scored a touchdown.
Amari Cooper had 2 bombs. Yeah. Curtis Samuel did.
Kelsey might have had a couple. Obviously he's their main guy over there. Overall, I felt like this game was pretty well. I thought both defensive lines were playing well. They put pressure. Chris Jones, up front for the Chiefs. This felt like a playoff game. This was like an excellent game, and I could easily see the Chiefs winning this one. Like either team could have won. Like, you know what I mean? But I'm kind of happy. I don't know. Like I said, heading into this week, I wanted a tie. You know what I mean? No team to win. But if the Chiefs have to go down, the Bills have to end our national nightmare of the Chiefs being whatever and oh. You know what I mean? The 72 Dolphins, we survive another year, another season.
We survive another decade.
Yeah. But yeah, this was a great game. Like, I have to pull up the game score because I'm forgetting some of the highlights. But yeah, overall, I thought this was like a fun game. This was the one, like, part of the best games of the week that I saw. I don't know what were your takeaways from this game.
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought this was a pretty complete game on both sides of the field. Like, obviously, it was 30-21, but it felt like obviously it maybe leaned more towards a defensive style game, especially to start off. But if both teams kind of came into their own offensively as it started to progress. But like I said, it was like you had great moments where there's great stops and then great moments where, they were able to create amazing plays like the one you said with the Josh Allen run. I specifically like the shot to Amari Cooper down the sideline, which ended up being an incredible grab. And it just looked good on like all fronts in that way. Kareem Hunt surprisingly had a pretty decent game for the Kansas City Chiefs, considering he is, I don't know how old he is at this point. I thought James Cook was actually a little quiet this game. I didn't think he did much, but what's crazy is how the Bills' weapons have kind of like come into their own finally, because going into the season, they're like Stephon Diggs was gone, and you're like, oh my god, who's Josh Allen's going to throw to? But now you're looking at this game, and I'm watching this game, and in the past 2 weeks, you're like, oh shit, oh wait, you got this Khalil Shakir guy who's kind of came up through the ranks these past couple games and has looked pretty solid. He took a shot, by the way, on one of those plays. He got reamed.
Oh yeah, he rung his bell, yeah.
Yeah, and then you got Curtis Samuel, a guy I've always enjoyed at Carolina and then Washington, and he's finally starting to actually play. He was supposed to be a pretty good signing for the Bills to kind of replace that Diggs speed and athleticism, and now he's finally starting to play because he played well. And obviously, we saw in today's game, I thought he had a great game. He had a good touchdown, and then if they got Amari Cooper on the field, like I said from the moment they had that trade, I'm like, that's a good trade. I thought they robbed Cleveland. Cleveland could have got way more. I mean, granted, you're getting an aged Amari Cooper, and I think they gave up a set. To me, it's like when you get a 7th rounder, you're just like, I don't even care. Like, that's like, what are you going to do with that? But it's not as bad as it was. Obviously, Coleman is out
Yeah.
in this game, but it's not a terrible little offense that they were able to mismatch and pass together. Like I said, I think they got a little lucky with Curtis Samuel finally starting to play better and getting the Shakir guy rolling and getting the trade for Amari Cooper. And like you said, once Coleman comes back, that should help potentially. I mean, we'll see how he will look towards the end of the season. But yeah, man, I mean, this is another one to me where it's just Josh Allen doing Josh Allen things, and
Yeah.
he played really well. I thought Patrick Mahomes didn't have a good game really at all. I mean, obviously he threw the 2 picks, but how much do you want to put on? I'm sorry,
I
I'm
know
John.
Xavier
I don't know
Ward.
how
He
much
had
you
some
want to
drops.
put on Patrick Mahomes because there was just like the drops, and then just I felt like man, Bills just had their wide receivers on lock. I just felt like he had nowhere to go for so many plays, and he was able to get some done. Like Travis Kelce was pretty much non-existent this game. I think had 2 catches. I'm looking at now 8 yards. I mean, the Chiefs just continue to just look dead on offense, and they finally face a team that can outperform their defense and put up 30 points. Because I've been saying literally since the jump for the past few weeks is that you put 30 on the Chiefs, you're winning the game. That's just like the Chiefs have been averaging what, like 23 points a game, somewhere around there. Like I feel like every game they're getting either 20 to 25. And it's like, man, you get high 20s or score 30 on the Chiefs, you're winning this game. So the moment I saw Buffalo got 30 points, I'm like, this is a game. This is it. Like the Chiefs, they just don't have the offensive firepower to really keep it going and going after it. And defensively, they've been able to stay in games, but I think the Bills are just too much, man. And the Bills are just a scary team. Hey, Josh Allen is becoming just like such a good quarterback, and he's cleaning up a lot of the issues that people were getting onto him the past few years, where he would have amazing games, but then he would go on these skids where he doesn't look good, or he'll just throw like dumb picks,
dumb turnovers
or whatever.
at the end of games. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like this season, watching him, he's just been a little bit cleaner.
No.
He hasn't been so reckless from what he's been a little bit more strategic. I mean, right now, he has 18 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, which
it's a great ratio.
That's good. That's
not a lot
ratio,
of touchdowns, but it's a great ratio.
Yeah, he's 6th in the league, which it could be better, but considering who he has to throw for, not the best. But yeah. Anything else on this game before we talk about AFC as a whole?
No, that was it. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, he had some rushes. Patrick Mahomes doesn't look fast, right? When he scrambles, he doesn't look fast. Compared to like
he's elusive.
But he's still elusive. Yeah, he's smart with it. Like he gets out of bounds quick. So he had some first down. But Josh Allen doesn't look, he's probably equally not as fast, but he looks like a tight end running. Like he looks tough. Those were some of the highlights I remember, especially that highlight that we're talking about, the 4th down where he was gonna fake the throw and just ran it in for a touchdown. Better scrambler, Josh Allen. That's my last note.
So
talk about the AFC.
So now that obviously the mighty Kansas City Chiefs have been taken down, at least for now, they are 9-1. They are tied for the record in the league, only next to the Detroit Lions. But how do you see this AFC, the top of the AFC, playing out? Do you think the Chiefs lock down that number 1 spot, or do you think they drop another one and Buffalo or Pittsburgh can catch up to them? Because realistically, those are the only 2 teams that could really leapfrog them, because Pittsburgh 8-2, Buffalo 9-2, and obviously Kansas City 9-1. 4th place is the Houston Texans at 7-4, and you do have the Chargers 7-3, but I don't know if 7-3 is going to be a part of me feels like with these last 7 games, you're asking a lot to have them being able to leapfrog, because whoever gets on top are probably only going to have 2 losses. I don't necessarily see a world where there's a 3-loss team in first place, but I guess as for conversation's sake, let's keep the Chargers in there, because I will say they had a pretty pivotal game Sunday night against the Cincinnati Bengals that, for a lot of Bengals fans, probably ruined their hopes for the playoffs, because they're 4-7 now. But out of those 4 teams, how are you feeling? Who's going to get that number 1 overall seed and get that bye week?
I feel like the Chiefs are still prime for this. Like Buffalo, the next 3 weeks is tough, even though they play one AFC game. I think they play the Lions, they play the 49ers, and they play, I believe, the Rams. Let me double check. Yeah, they play 49ers, the Rams, and Detroit. Obviously, one of those AFC teams, and then they can clean up the rest. So the next 3 weeks for the Buffalo is going to be tough because I think the standings go by overall record, then divisional, then conference, and then divisional or whatever. I forget the hierarchy of that. So
yeah, well, Buffalo, divisional only counts within divisional opponents,
like tie. Yeah,
opponent.
Okay.
I believe.
So I can see maybe the Bills dropping to that mid tier, kind of maybe like a 3, no lower than a 4, like just because of that matchup I was talking about, and the Chiefs' schedule going forward. The next 3 weeks they play Carolina, Las Vegas, they play the Chargers, Cleveland, Houston. So there's a couple tough games for the Chiefs they still have to play. But I think their schedule comparatively to the Bills is a little bit easier. So I still see the Chiefs staying on top. Not necessarily that they're going to, win the rest of the games out and go 16-1, but I still see the Chiefs can lock up. They have an easier road to lock up the AFC.
See, I'm not necessarily with you there. I think it's pretty tough. I mean, you have a Chargers team that pushed them to the brink and is a really good team. Obviously, they should win the next 2 games against the Carolina Panthers and the Las Vegas Raiders. Like that, those are layups. Chargers game is going to be tough, Sunday night game, but you are at home. That should be a freezing game.
Yeah.
Then you got Cleveland, which should be an easy win. But then you got Houston, Pittsburgh, and Denver. So Houston team, clearly a 4-loss team. They should win their division unless something catastrophic happens. But you have Pittsburgh, who's also vying for that spot, which that could be a potential first place, gets a lot of playoff implications right there on that 1:00 game, because say if Pittsburgh still hasn't dropped a game yet, they're whatever at that point, 4-2. If they beat the Chiefs right there and they get the head-to-head advantage, that could be the number 1 seed. That game specifically could be up for grabs. And then you end off with Denver, which Denver, like we talked about earlier with Bo Nix and all them, was that they need every game they can possibly get. And Denver defensively really shut down that Chiefs team. And if it wasn't for that blocked field goal, they lose that game. And you're playing at Mile High. That's really tough, man. So not that the division is going to come down to that, but both teams are going to have something to play for. So I personally, man, I see a world where the Chiefs lose the first spot. I do want to look at this Buffalo one real quick. So like you said, there's San Francisco, Rams, Detroit. Then you got New England, New York, New England.
Those last
Detroit game is going to be a thriller. The Detroit game is going to be awesome.
But that's an NFC game. I mean, it's going to affect. That's what I'm saying. It's going to affect their overall record, but not their conference record.
Should be fun, but I think you're going to need everyone you can get. But that's going to be a super fun game. That's going to be a game where you just throw, get out of the way defense. Play with the 7. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, you pretty much got the NFC. What you got? I don't know, man. I think I like the Bills to win it out, because if I was, from what my memory serves me right, with the Steelers schedule ending off, they have a pretty tough one because, like we said, they play the Bengals twice and they play the Ravens. I like the Bills schedule. I think it's a little bit more favorable. I think they beat San Francisco and Los Angeles. That Detroit game, look, they could lose that game, in my opinion, which say they do. I think they only got 1 loss to end the season. They probably end the season 14-3. I think that gets them the job. I think that gets them done, personally.
I can see, like I said,
and they had the head-to-head matchup against the Chiefs. So if they have the same record as the Chiefs, they're going to get the first overall.
I see the Chiefs locking up number 1. Maybe the Steelers go up to number 2. Like I said, maybe they jump, but I can see the Steelers going up to 2. And I can see the Bills, like I said, dropping maybe 3 or 4, but they'll still be like in that mid.
Really
3 or 4.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So yeah,
if I had to say more likely, yeah.
I have the Bills taking it over because I do think that head-to-head tiebreaker is huge. Because I see a world where Kansas City loses 2 more games, and I think, based off my predictions, that Buffalo only loses 1 more. So
only 1 more. Wow.
Having that head-to-head matchup, yeah, I mean, San Francisco is beatable. Like, I think Buffalo's look better than San Francisco. Rams, while good, they're not better than Buffalo. The Detroit game is going to be a coin toss. Pick whoever you want. Like, honestly, like, I don't know who's going to win that game. and then they should win out the rest with the New England games twice and then New York. So I think they really only lose one game here. And then I think Kansas City loses 2. And with the head-to-head tiebreaker, they get first. I think Pittsburgh stays at 3. I don't know if they bounce to 4 because I think Houston's going to lose a couple games. And Houston has a lot of let me pull up the Houston schedule, actually, now that I'm thinking about it.
They're playing
I
Christmas.
don't see you.
I know that. Like I said, I think they announced Beyonce in the morning. We have that Steelers game.
Houston has a tough schedule from what I recall.
Have them right here. Let
I'm
me
pulling
see.
it up. Pulling it up now.
This ain't Texas.
Case. And Houston in general hasn't looked super impressive to me. I mean, they lost a close one against Detroit, but they also lost against the Jets. They barely beat Indianapolis. They lost against Green Bay. They beat Buffalo, but from what I recall from that game, it's been a while, but I think that was not a good game from them. The Jacksonville game was not good for them. But they gave that way to Jacksonville, and they still lost. They still won that. Jacksonville still lost that game. But Houston had no business winning that. They got blown out by Minnesota. Like, I don't think Houston has really been that strong. Now, they do have the AFC South, so obviously they have the Tennessee Titans, so they should win that. They play Jacksonville, so they should win that. They play Miami, which that's going to be a tough game. And then you play Kansas City, Baltimore, and then Tennessee. Like, I think Houston loses. Houston loses at least 2 more games. That gives them 6 wins. There's no way they're getting first with that. Now let's talk about the final team, and that would be the Chargers, who would be the only ones realistically to potentially leapfrog and get over there, which I think is going to be a little bit of a stretch. But let's see. So Chargers have Baltimore, Atlanta, Kansas City, Tampa Bay, Denver, and then New England Raiders. So they got a pretty tough 5-game streak there. They ended off pretty easy with New England and Las Vegas. But, man, Baltimore, Atlanta, Kansas City, Tampa, and Denver, those are tough games, man. Those are super tough games. All teams who could be in the playoffs and fighting for playoff spots. I think they drop a couple. They make the playoffs, in my opinion. For sure. I don't see them being more than 6 losses. I think they probably, if anything, lose 5 games. But they're going to get 5th seed, best team in the wild card. That's kind of where I see the Chargers land. I don't know what you think of the Chargers.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think there'll be that 3-4 with Buffalo. They'll be still in the mid tier. I don't know if they drop completely, but I think they'll be.
Well, no, they would go to 5 because
4 or 5. I guess.
It's Kansas City.